Good morning and welcome back to another grounds maintenance vlog, as we're now calling it. And we are on Monday 22nd of September. We are on Glen Grant Distillery today, so we'll be there as a team of 4 with 2 employees down, so that'll be us all there for the full day to see what we can get done. So we're just going to get ready now for the team meeting and go through a few points, get ready, get packed up, and that'll be us on the same site for the rest of today. So I'll see what I can get done with the content, but that is where we're going to be spending our Monday.
Oh, nearly knocked the whole extension down.
The whole roof. You don't know removal until you have a bit of a flat on top of the flower staircase.
Normally it starts happening start of October, maybe the middle of October. We start getting the cancellations a couple of weeks early, and all we do is if they're like, oh, it's not growing anymore, we go, right, we'll cancel this visit, we'll come back in a month and that'll be your last visit, and it just gets us that extra visit in.
Okay, so that's us at Glen Grant Distillery. On these visits we do essentially whatever needs done each visit. So we do have some planned things, but we maintain around this whole side path. This is what we call the visitor's path. That runs for roughly sort of 300 meters from this point. So we can come here with a plan, but it's so dynamic. We get a storm, and because we're surrounded by so many trees, then we're left to do a lot of storm clear up. We've got general maintenance, blowing down, taking away leaves. We've got maintenance to the garden. So like now this time of year, a lot of the apples fall down. So we're constantly clearing apples before we can then do grass cuts. So we obviously have quite a lot of pruning to do throughout the year for the apple trees as well. A lot of them are fairly mature and of a decent age, but you can see hopefully there's a lot to then tidy up. This is coming in the second section of the garden. So again, it's much of the same. It is, to be honest, quite a spring to summer garden. A lot of primulas come through, but we are at this moment in time working very closely with Simon, who is one of our subcontractors that we get in, to actually get a bit more interest throughout the latter end of the year. And that's kind of an ongoing project that we have, because like I say, after sort of midsummer you lose a lot of the interest in the garden. A bit about this garden is it's a 22-acre site. The garden itself is about 2.5 acres, and it was originally built in the 1800s by Major James Grant. He done a lot of travels throughout the world, and because of that he brought back a lot of exotic plants, and he was really fond of the orchards as well. So he got this built in a particular way in the 1800s, and it was then rebuilt to match in 96. So that's kind of, from that point it seems like they had different contractors through that point, and they've kind of maintained it to different levels. We came in nearly 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago now, and we're trying to maintain and more wherever we can. So here doing grass cuts, we do tree work, apple pruning, leaf clearance, planting. So it's improvements wherever we can as well. Another big thing for Major Grant's garden is he was well known for bringing in the Meconopsis, the Himalayan blue poppy, and through doing that it's struggled in a lot of places throughout the garden. So Simon's really headhunted this year with getting that reinstated. So we got everything bought in from seed, or sort of just new germination, and from there we've transplanted and grew and planted into the ground. And it's been quite a process this year, but from what we thought was maybe several hundred inch tray, it's turned out to be a couple of thousand. So it's kept us really busy this year. Like I say, Simon's been heading with a lot of that, and he's done a fantastic job. So all these were grown from seed just this year, and the plan is that when you walk into this section of the garden, it's dappled shade, it's moist climate, and everything stays pretty damp in this area. So a lot of the Meconopsis should thrive, and it's going to be covered. So we've got this section down here. We've cleared out this oak we lifted on the left hand side. This, what used to grow when we came in, it used to grow all the way down to the ground. So we've lifted the skirt on the oak tree and cleared out that border. The primulas are going to be separated a bit more and spread throughout the whole of the borders on this left hand side for spring colour. And then we'll have the Meconopsis that's now in on the right hand side, the left hand side, and in front of the shuttlecock ferns at the very back. So you're going to be hit with that sort of glorious bright baby blue colour that the Meconopsis gives as you walk into this section of the garden. So it's things like this where we're trying to, like I said, not just maintain, but we're trying to improve where we can. And this is the path that we have started widening. So you can see the black previously, if you look from me just standing very narrowly, that sort of waist, that's shoulder width apart. It was very narrow, and we seen very early on that people are struggling to kind of get down this garden, especially when we had things in this border slightly overlapping. So we've pretty much more than doubled it in width. This is the type one that's down nice and solid now. Little things creating views. So you have little viewpoints throughout the garden. But possibly the nicest part about this garden, and it is definitely a hidden gem, has to be the gorge walk. So that has finished the main side of Glen Grant. We have now came on the other side, which is sort of like the warehouses, and I simply have two sections of grass. How well you can see that, I am not too sure, but it's this one on just two triangles essentially is what we do. And this used to, when we first came into the site, it wasn't done at all, it was done once a year, and then we came in, used the Grillo, and now it's actually a pretty, for it being just an open space, it's a pretty lush area now that we've actually been keeping on top of it, maintaining it. It's a low priority, so we kind of work within priorities of these things. So obviously main gardens and stuff, that's a main priority, so it gets done weekly. Then we have areas on the site that might be every 2 weeks, there's every 4 and every 6 weeks, and then even things like the main bank outside, that's every 6 to 8 weeks depending on how it's grown. So highly advise it. If you come onto a really big site, it can be slightly overwhelming. The best thing to do is just prioritize quite simply of the different areas, how much are they being seen, how much are people walking them areas, you know, does it need to look nice? All these different things you can kind of put into perspective and maintain the way that you see fit essentially. And then we have this area, and this was the same. This area was overgrown massively with brambles, and all the grass was way high. I'll see if I can find some areas, some old pictures of it. But as you can see now, I don't know how close I can get into this. You can see how long that is. That's sort of upwards of sort of 6 inches tall as you look across this area. It's at the back of the buildings, very, very low priority, but there's fire escapes on the back of all these buildings, and people need access. If they run away from the buildings, they need to get on here. So again, as soon as we kind of got into these visits, we seen this should be maintained. It shouldn't be just left to the dogs. So we started maintaining it, started cutting it back. And again, it doesn't get cut every 2 weeks, but it's maybe sort of once a month cut. And all we do, and again, having just a big range of machinery within the fleet, we can do things like bring the Grillo in for somewhere that is a very rough area, and it can do still a very good job. So we'll do this today and it'll look really clean afterwards. The reason why we bring the griller in is one, it doesn't matter if it gets a bit longer, but two, there's a lot of stumps, stones, debris like sticks and just all sorts within this area. So it means that we can keep on top of it and not worry too much if the blades are going to get dinged. You can see how low he's going there. He's pretty much scalping it out, but it's because the machine can handle it, for one, and secondly, because we're doing it less often, it means we can just give it a harder cutback. This is not an area that needs to look really pretty. It just needs to be maintained so that people can access it if and when required. So yeah, just common sense. All this sort of stuff's kind of common sense. Use your, just think about things. Like I said, are they going to be seen? What is required from that area? And just evaluate as you go on and then come up with a plan. That's what we do. Right, that's us nearly finished there. Ed's just doing the last sort of 6 or 7 passes on his side. That's me completed on my side. And it just makes a world of difference. The difference it makes, I mean, put it this way, when we took it over, we got told our pretty much scope of works was nothing less than what's currently being done. And instead of us just being like, right, we'll copy what the last guy did, we like to come into a site and do that and more if possible. And I know everyone tries to do that to some degree, but it's just like, where do you stop? And really, ours is if we've got time, then we'll always do more. And I think it's just a good thing to play by every time you get a new site, to try and give your own impression on a site. And I think just little things like this, you know, it's probably only the workers that ever come this way, but when a manager does, or maybe if they have a visit and they've got to inspect the warehouses or something, when they come over, they might go, it might have been 12 months since they did it last year. So they get to come in and they go, bloody hell, this is looking good. So that's the plan anyway. That's what we like to do. Maintain and improve. I think that's a key thing here. Hello, it is Tuesday. So you never missed much on the back end of yesterday. Just some final bits of maintenance got ticked off, a bit of weeding. Duncan was putting in the edging for the new path, and Simon blew down some leaves around the bottling hole. It now really starts with the leaves. That's kind of us now in leaf season until pretty much end of December, start of January. It just comes down more and more each visit. So yeah, just our job's going on. Today I'm on the ride-on collector, cutting quite a large house near Elgin. Duncan's on his own run in a place called Burney, and Ed has got his own run in Forest. He's been doing that run himself now for about 2 years. This is his second full year, I think, doing it, maybe 2 and a bit years. And yeah, wherever possible, we try and offload a run to someone to give them a bit of ownership of the run. They get to build that relationship, and it just gives you something to take care of and some clients to build a relationship with. So Ed's on that. We won't have any footage of that today, but he's got 9 properties, I think it is, today to go do, and then he'll come through to Elgin and give us a hand. So yeah, we're going to get loaded up, get on the go and cut some grass. I'd also like to point out we have just hit 100 hours on the Ezeki. And just say, before this season, we actually had 0 use for a ride-on collector mower. And this year alone, we've done 100 hours and we're, you know, not quite at the end of the season. So it just shows, I'm a big believer in sometimes you just need to make the leap of faith on some things, and that's quite a risk. You know, in this business, quite a lot of people ask me, you know, I don't know whether I should buy this bit of equipment, or I don't know whether I should jump into commercial work, or I don't know if I should bring on staff, or if I'm ready, or how do you know you're ready? And a lot of the time, you just need to make that leap of faith and you need to just go for it. because it's all high risk stuff. You can get a bit of equipment and not use it at all, and you're not making any money on it. Or you could take on a member of staff and they'd be really terrible or quite toxic for your company. And you've just got to sometimes take that leap just to get going, just to build momentum, and then you can refine things later on. But in cases like this where, you know, we kind of lined up a contract ready to go for getting this ride-on collector, and then when we did, it was kind of like all in, right? Let's get it in, set everything up. As soon as they say yes, we're going for it. It might only be one contract, but with us having the use, we can try and build on it, market it, and try and get more work for it. So sometimes you just need to go for it, and you know, sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it doesn't. It is Wednesday and there is nothing really to show you today. We've had members of staff calling sick. I've been waiting in most of the day for this. So we have bought in now a Timberwolf TW230 DHB, which is a 6-inch wood chipper. So this is something that we've decided to get in due to not having to wait on hire equipment essentially. So we just wanted something in the fleet that we could use at a moment's notice. Hopefully we can keep it right ourselves and just have it there to offer out. You know, we do maybe 10 to 15 hires a year, and then we've got our little small 4-inch one that we maybe use another sort of 10 times a year. And then there's all them other situations where if we had it, we would have took it, but instead we've just done 4, 5, 6 tipper waste runs instead. So, you know, I think there's definitely a place with it within the company, although we're not a tree surgery company and we're not going to be using it daily for 8 hours a day every day. We use one enough to justify the purchase and to have it within the fleet, like I say. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting this out, getting it ran up and getting it to earn its keep, quite honestly. But we're excited to use it. We were going to go for a forced, but then we just went with what the availability was. So this is how we've ended up with the Timberwolf. Big shout out to ILH. If anyone is after a wood chipper, whether it is a forced or maybe a second-hand Timberwolf, something like that, they have been absolutely amazing to deal with. Big props to them as a company. You know, they've overhauled this. They've put so much new bits and bobs on it. The whole flywheel, new blades. They've got a new hitch on it, fully serviced the whole thing. They've just done so much to it, and I know that they've put in that quality to then get it turned back out to being a really great machine. So obviously we haven't run it yet, but yeah, from everything they've said that they've done and through the customer service that we've had, they've just been absolutely spot on. So if you're throughout the UK and you're after a new wood chipper, I would definitely recommend giving ILH a ring. They will probably even deliver it, or at least you can pay for delivery as well. So I'm pretty sure they're UK wide, but yeah, they've just been amazing to deal with. So yeah, massively recommend. Try and get a shot on the light there. Yeah, beautiful bit of kit. Dual field rollers, reversible blades. Yeah, really excited to get it to work. Right, peace out, we'll see you tomorrow. Good morning guys, it is Thursday and we're starting off by trimming all perimeters, edges and obstacles on the site. This is one of 2 distillery sites that we look after for the same company. That's Duncan just heading off in the Ezeki to get the cut and collection done. This is a cut and collect contract only. So this is the main contract that we had in mind when we were purchasing this machine before the rest of the jobs came on board. So it's a great machine. The only thing is it's a little bit cumbersome at 54-inch deck size and quite a tall machine. It can be quite hard getting through wood lines or where there's low hanging branches. But for a site like this where it's open spaces and you can really just go for it, it is absolutely fantastic. And the machine really comes into its own at this point here. This is now the second of the 2 sites that we're doing. We do both these in the same day, like I say. And we're starting off by rotavating this bank. It has been sprayed off twice before. It was really bad with mare's tail, but we've managed to get that under control through several treatments. And so now we're just re-prepping the ground. I'm just, to be honest, getting taken for a ride with this rotavator. It is an insane workout to use. But after getting all that rotavated through, I've now moved on to the raking. Really just to get a smooth embankment all the way through. I'm not going to show you all the footage because, to be honest, it was an absolute lick out. And, you know, I did all this myself and I don't want to do it again anytime soon. But this is just getting it prepped before I'm then putting the seed down and rolling the whole area through just to get good seed to soil contact. Really looking forward to the show for this next year. Good morning. It is Friday. So nothing worth filming. Well, there was stuff worth filming yesterday, but to be honest with you, Wednesday and Thursday absolutely ripped me off. So nothing went to plan, nothing went right. Wednesday, which is normally a 4 or 5 man day, turned out to be just myself. Everyone else called in sick. And then yesterday, just one thing broke after another, and it was one of them days where I was up to here. I didn't have it in me. So yeah, very hard day yesterday. Hopefully this will be a better end of the week. I've had a decent night's sleep and I'm ready to go for it again. Sometimes you just have them days where this happens and yeah, things don't go to plan. So we're into our Friday room, which is essentially me and Ed doing the commercials and some of the large domestics, and we've got Tom and Duncan in today doing all the sort of small scale pedestrian cut type work. So we're in for that today. Normally we make really good timing for it, and the plan always was that on these Fridays that it would be somewhat of a half day so that we could come in, get any maintenance done and bits and bobs ready to send us in at the weekend. But because Wednesday everyone called in, well, not everyone called in sick, but for one reason or another people couldn't come in, we have now an overflow to do. So we've deferred some for 2 weeks and the rest of them are going to be in today's run. So 4 of them, I think it is, on the back end of today. So yeah, we're going to get amongst that. I'm sure it's going to be a busy enough day, but it's going to be 18 degrees and sunny, so we can't really complain, can we? I'll show you what we're dealing with at the minute. So we've cancelled 2 of the first jobs this morning, which is a vet's and accountancy firm. We've come to the 3rd job, and it's normally everything around this woodland that we do and into the property itself down towards the bottom. But look at that, you can still see the tracks from the last visit, and just everywhere that's basically mossy isn't getting any growth. So this is kind of borderline being cancelled. Wouldn't surprise me if this is one of the last cuts of the year that we're going to do today. Not much on it in these areas, but then you've got the patches where you can see the darker green. All of that still needs cut, and then we've got it down at the bottom where you can see it go really bright green as well. That is sort of maybe a couple of inches at best. And then the 2 lawns, the back lawn isn't bad at all, but the front lawn has got maybe an inch of growth, but it's more of a leaf collection if I'm being honest with you. So we'll get amongst them now. I'm gonna have to cut some grass today, but like I say, this one might be the last one of the year. Wouldn't surprise me. So we're just finishing off the bit of the hedge that we can get to at the moment. So last year we reduced this side. That was near double in height, to be fair. I'll get some pictures up of that. But there's a pond on the other side, so you can't actually get access to the other side, especially not with a ladder. So we've put in the front edge that we can, a nice straight line that you can see across. Ed took over from about here after he finished cutting the grass. He's just snipping that very last bit, and then we're gonna have to come back on a different day and bring in the telescopic ego and the 16-foot henchman, I think it is, that we have, 14-foot, 16-foot, and get in there. Essentially they're putting a dead hedge across this bottom half now, so it's a bit awkward to try and get to, but the 8 foots just aren't big enough. But even then you'd only get another couple of foot in, but there's a good other metre from that line that you can see of growth. So we're gonna have to get the telescopic trimmer and probably pull pruner just to try and get this one finished off. We'll do that again in 2 weeks when we come back. Other than that, it's at least been faced off properly and it's a hell of a lot tidier. Like I say, Ed's just finishing that bit now, so that'll be us getting this nipped, and then we'll be moving on from here. I believe the team 2, Duncan and Tom, they've already had a couple of cancellations again today. So yeah, it's well and truly getting towards that point now where we're starting to cancel off. jobs here and there, or at least postponing them for 4 weeks until then a last cut. So bit by bit we're getting there.
Alright then guys, that is the end of another week, and what a week it has been. You know, one thing after another. Wednesday, Thursday was just super stressful, trying to, whether it was a mixture between internally and external factors. But you know, the guys being sick, schedules changing, things not going well, things breaking, having to do extra runs because we forgot kit with certain things. It happens, and you know, it was just one of them weeks for me. And anyone knows that runs a business, you know, you've got to sometimes just knuckle down and get the jobs done. And unfortunately, anytime it comes to them situations, YouTube needs to come second to the business. So that's why that was kind of how it was. Wednesday and Thursday was quite patchy with the footage. But hey, for everyone that's tuned in again, I massively appreciate it. If you enjoyed the last video, then thank you very much. I got some really good comments on it. But please, again, stick a comment down below if you've got any questions with absolutely anything. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I would love to hear from you again, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.